wait till I show you this picture. Like the picture of what I'm doing right now is crazy. I've got like, my desk is still here, right? So I've got my desk still here. The mic is still attached to the desk, but I have to sit on the floor because everything's gone from my studio. So I basically turn it around and I have it like bending backwards coming out over me now. So it's like super weird. So it's like right in front of me, which is this little black thing that you're seeing right here. So I'm hoping that the sound is okay, but I'm sure you'll let me know if it's not. And then, so now I'm sitting on the floor. My back is killing me. I think I wish I had my butt pillow. You know, I have a little like butt pillow that you can sit on that kind of like helps with your lower back and stuff. So that is something that I wish I had brought up, but I'll make sure that I have it next time. I'm sort of like still trying to figure out how I'm going to be streaming for the next month or so, because I mean, there's really nothing in the house. However, good news for everyone is that, well, everyone, good news for me is that showings. We have 3 showings today, which is like super psyched. I'm psyched. I'm so excited. I just want to make sure that I am streaming live just because I'm using Streamlab and I'm still like sort of learning how to do it. So I just want to make sure that like it's live, that thing's good. Great, perfect. I'm live. Let me make sure I can hear myself. Okay. I can hear myself. Hallelujah. Yay. Okay, so next step then. Okay, I gotta pause this. Stop. Okay, listen. Manessa is not. You know what I'll do? I'll share it into the squad. Maybe that'll make it stop working. Okay, there we go. It stopped doing that. Okay. Next up is I'm going to just send a quick text to my crew in the social strategy squad. And then we'll get this show on the road. Come let me know. Okay, do you ever feel like you need to be likable in business? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And then I'll share the link. When I just said let's talk about it, you know what song went through my head? Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. I haven't thought of that song in years. Oh my God, years it's been. Oh God, when did it come out? Like 1992-ish? I think it came out like, I can't remember exactly when it came out, but I remember it was like so like, oh my God, I can't believe that like, that this is the song that's out there. And now it's like, now everybody's singing about this stuff. Who cares? It's like, no big deal. Everybody's singing about this stuff. But man, back in like, what was it, 92 to 95? Oh my God, Salt and Pepper, they were like, woo, can you believe it? Now you have Nicki Minaj singing about, not Nicki Minaj, Cardi B singing about WAP. I was reading an article about Nicki Minaj a few seconds ago about her vaccination thing. So that was interesting. All right, let's get this show on the road after I share the link for the live. Okay, bam. All right, we've done it. Let me just make sure it's not going to start pressing play. That would be terrible. And then we'll get going. So because of all the things that have been happening in my house right now, I was a little bit behind on just about everything, but which is also why I wasn't able to make it yesterday, last week, because stuff just started to go crazy. Everything happened so quickly once we put the house on the market, and I was just like, oh my God, now we have showings, and then we have to make the house look like nobody lives in it. It's like totally crazy. Totally crazy. All right, here we are then. Hi, Colleen, good to see you. Okay, so text is sent out, the squad members know, and I'm live. All right, so welcome to the live recording of the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast. I wanted to do this live because I wanted to show everyone who's watching the things that like, just sort of like what it takes to sort of get one of these things going when you're first getting started, right? So like you're seeing everything that I'm doing. So like right now I'm going live. I record them. Then for a little while, I was just recording them and just kind of letting them happen. And then I started sending them over to Lara, who is my social media manager, and she's cutting them and just uploading them to podcasts right now. But that's it, just uploading them to podcasts. We're not doing anything crazy just yet. So I'm trying to build my library before I start going crazy and start marketing it, because I want to make sure that it's actually like I've got an engine going behind it before I really actually dive, like start blowing it out of the water type thing. So I like to do things, we've talked a little about this, like not trying to do things the right way, more just doing them in an iterative way. So the goal is to record the podcast and talk about something, a myth or an idea that was impressed upon us when we were children, or as we've been growing up over we grew up into business, right? That is either categorically false or is misunderstood or just doesn't work the way it used to. Like it was true once, but isn't true anymore. And it's so important that we address these things and really like pull them out of the shadows, put them right in front of us and say, okay, this is what this is. Because as long as we don't know what those misconceptions are, we're just going to keep leaning into them and making the same mistakes over and over and over again. Hi, Dee Dee. I totally woke Dee Dee up. Awesome. I'm so glad. Isn't this the best thing to hear first thing in the morning? I know it is. Okay. So what is today's conversation about? So the way that we're going to do it is I'll basically start the recording, which is, we're technically recording now. And, I wonder if I can record at the same time. I'm not going to try that now. If I could press the button and record at the same time, I'd be like, ooh, if I can do that too. So we're recording. And then when we're done, so I'm not going to be looking at comments during that time. And then I'm going to come back and we'll do a Q&A on it. Okay. So in the meantime, while we're recording, feel free to invite your friends, because these are conversations that women need to be having right now. Like, we need to be having these conversations. Otherwise, we are going to continue to believe, all of the terrible, terrible things that we believe about ourselves that came from a place of misunderstanding or from an antiquated place. It just doesn't have no role. It has no role in our world right now. Okay. Hi, Haley. Good to see you. Hello. Okay. So let us dive right into what today's myth is. All right. So today's thing that we're going to bust out of is you don't have to be likable to have a successful business or to sell. You really don't. So before I jump in, I do want to ask this question. Do you ever write a post and then not post it because you think that it will make people dislike you, right? So or whatever it is. Maybe it's a live, maybe it's a post, maybe it's something that you wanted to say, a story, whatever it is. Have you ever been ready to do something for your business but held back at the last minute because, or even like while you were doing it, you felt it in your heart, like, people won't like me, right? And you did not do whatever that thing was because you were afraid of being unlikable, right? Have you ever done that? I'm going to raise both my hands and my feet if possible, because I have done that 1,000 times, probably more than that than I can count. At least I know for sure it was probably about every post that I made in the early part of my social media career, for sure. Now it does happen sometimes, but it's one of those things where it's just like it's something that just comes from, like, it's programming. It's not real, and I have to like really sit through it and be like, oh, okay, yeah, this isn't real, and move myself to a different space. But like, inherently, I do not believe that I need to be likable to sell, but sometimes I forget that and I just start, oh my God, what if they don't like me? And then I remember I'm talking to you guys, and we're going to talk about the trick that I use to actually make posts when that happens. That'll help you sort of like move forward. Okay. Alrighty. So, Jessica, so cool. Likeable is often confused with relatable. Oh my God. Amazing. Okay. So let's dive in. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, and welcome to the Stop Shooting All Over Yourself podcast, the podcast that I created to debunk a lot of myths about what we need to do to be successful in business. And believe me, there are a lot of them. This podcast is being recorded live on the Direct to Success business page on Facebook, and you are welcome to join us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. to be a part of the conversation. Or if you'd like to join the conversation that we had about this particular topic, you can jump to the business page now and dive right in. So today we're going to be talking about being likable in business, right? This is something I've been thinking about for a very, very long time, because for a while I believed it. I believed that I had to be likable in business. And whenever I would write something, I would worry about, let's say I would write something and I know that a few people in my squad would be really into it. Let's say Dee Dee, Amy, Katie, Haley, right? You guys are into it. You're like, oh, I'm all into it, right? And I knew they'd be into it, but I'd forget that they even existed. And I'd only be thinking about the people who would hate me. Right? Forget about Dee Dee, Haley, Colleen, any of them. Sophia, none of you guys even existed when I'm writing this post. You did exist, but in my head at that moment, I forgot that you existed. So in that moment, I'm writing the post and I'm trying to make it appealing to everyone, right? I'm like, well, what if the person, isn't feeling bad, isn't feeling overwhelmed, right? What if they're not feeling overwhelmed? But maybe, what if this person isn't having trouble with their sales? And I'll go back and double question myself. And then I forget. Then I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, Vanessa. If the person isn't feeling overwhelmed, then they're not your market, because that's what you help people with, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, good, right? If a person is not feeling if you're not feeling like I'm struggling to make sales, then that's not a problem that you have, so you don't need my help, right? If your mindset doesn't have an issue, then again, you don't need my help, right? So why would I be writing a post to somebody that doesn't need my help? But for me, sometimes I forget, right? So I'm just writing the post and I think, oh, I don't want to upset this person. I don't want to offend that person who might read it. And then I forget that the person who's reading it, for whom it doesn't belong, because it's just not what I help with, they're going to gloss right over it and move on. Either they'll be offended, they'll be annoyed, or they just won't even notice it, or it won't get in their feed. But the problem is if you don't actually really think about that, practically speaking, you don't really whoa, Nelly, stop yourself, and then go and like look at like your belief system, then you can fall down that path forever and just never actually come out of it. Now, because I've been doing this for so long and practicing this for so long, I'm now at a stage where I can move myself from a place that's, you know, where I tell myself those things, and then I think to myself, Colleen, Sophia, Haley, Amy, they're not going anywhere. Like, you aren't going. You're my people, right? I'm your people. Like, we're a crew together, right? So I know you're not going anywhere. And everyone else who is like you will find us as a community, and they will join us. The people who don't find us, right, or who find us and are like, ew, right, we don't want them. Ew. No, we don't want them because they're ewing us. I don't want to be ewed by anybody. If you're going to ew me, go somewhere else. Like, go to a place where people don't ew, right? Do that. So the problem, of course, comes with, here's how you sort of like manifest it. One is if you spend too much time wondering if you're interesting, right, or what to say on social media, that's usually a sign. Like, if you're sitting and you have a lot of trouble figuring out what to post, it's likely that what you're trying to do is be likable, right? Be likable. Jessica said it really well during the podcast. One of the comments, she said that there's a very big difference between being relatable and being likable. And that is absolutely true. Like, you need to be relatable to your audience. And you also do need to be likable to your audience, but you don't need to be relatable or likable to people that are not yours. Like, for example, I don't care that I'm unrelatable to Kim Kardashian. Like, she doesn't even know I exist, right? But I'm very unrelatable to her. She has no idea what my life is like. And if she met me, she'd be like, oh my God, you know the price of milk? That's crazy. And that's okay. I'm not her audience, right? And yet I still read about her on People magazine. A lot of times this also comes from a fear of being like actively rejected by trolls or people not engaging because they think you're too boring, right? So like, you're like, oh my God, I'm not interesting enough. So you worry about whether or not what you're sharing is interesting, or will people engage with it because it's interesting. So you second guess what you're writing because you think that you're boring. And often what that ends up looking like is you'll write a post and you'll rewrite it, then you'll write it again, or you'll sit and stare at the blank screen for like forever, write a sentence, delete the sentence, write 2 sentences, delete one of them. And it ends up taking like 3 or 4 hours just to get a post out. You may actually quit writing that post within like a few minutes, maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. It'll depend really on how often you've been doing it, what your threshold is at that time, the other things you need to do. But you'll just get to a point where either you'll just throw something up there because you're just like, oh my God, I don't even care about this. And you'll just throw it up because you just need to get something out there and you don't want to deal with it anymore. Or you just won't do it because you're just like, I can't figure this out and I'm tired of feeling like a failure. I'll come back to it later, right? Or you'll be like, oh my God, I don't want to do this now. I'm going to do this later. I'm going to go do something else. But in either case, it's not getting posted, or something junky is getting posted because you're not actually paying attention to it. You're just saying, I just need to get something up so that I can get it gone. And like, for example, and when I was early in my career, these are the sort of things that I want to actually give you some of these examples, right? So like for me, the things that really resonated for me in terms of like what I was afraid to talk about, because these were really authentic parts of who I was one, like, we'll talk about heavy stuff and not heavy stuff too, right? So like on the heavy side, I want to make a post about the fact that I have anxiety or depression or fibro, but I don't want to be a downer, right? So I don't want all my posts to be like downers, right? Oh my God, I'm so upset I have no spoons. Oh my God, I'm so upset about this. You know, I don't want it to just be constantly talking about how miserable and anxious I am. So that is something where if I was to write about it, I would be afraid that I would bring everybody down, right? And I'm not anymore, but because I've learned how to talk about it. And I've learned that like there's a lot of you out there who are like me, and if I don't talk about it, you won't be able to find me. But at the time, I was just afraid that you guys would all think that I was a downer and leave me and be like, oh my God, she's so depressing. I don't want to hang out with her. If I posted about video games, which I did, a while, I still do sometimes because I do a huge analogy with video games and our businesses. My thought was, oh my God, if you don't play video games, then it's not going to be relatable. And so you're going to leave me, right? And when I say you're going to leave me, I don't actually know who it is that I'm talking about here, right? Because we've already established that my core group of community members, so same as your core group of community members, they're not leaving, right? They're going to stay. So who is it that I'm actually worried about? I don't know, right? That's one of the key things. It's like, I want you to ask yourself when you're like, oh my God, I'm so worried people will think I'm boring. Well, who are these people, right? Like really ask yourself the question, who are these people? Which person is this exactly, right? And really challenge your dramatic statements, because I make those dramatic statements too, and make no mistake, they are dramatic statements of, oh my God, nobody likes me, I'm not interesting, that kind of thing. These are just wide sweeping statements that we often don't challenge because we just assume that they're true because we said them. Just because you say something doesn't make it to be true, okay? I'm a staunch supporter of LGBTQ rights, and I believe that Black Lives Matter, right? I'm vaccinated. I'm from Pakistan. I'm biracial, and I grew up in a dictatorship, right, where I had guns pointed at my head like all of the time. Since like my whole formative years, I had guns pointed at my head, and there were bombs, explosions. I was held hostage before what was I, 14 when I was held hostage? I think it was 14 or 15. I can't remember. But I went through all of these things, right? But I don't always share about them. And I definitely never shared about them before because I didn't want to be a downer, or I didn't feel like I had the right to have a voice as a biracial person because I present completely white. There's just like so many things inside of me that are really important as to who I am as a person that I'm working through, right? And some of them I'm working through alone in therapy, and some of them, well, with my therapist, with my husband, and others I bring here because I figured out how they fit into my life, and I want to share those insights with you, right, as a student of human behavior, right? Oh yeah, I was also a mentor at LuLaRoe, had a huge team. These are all heavy, heavy things, right? That like, oh my God, if I talk about them, like I'm just gonna bring everybody down, or it's gonna be a really deep, heavy discussion. And I was worried that if I had deep, heavy discussions, that again, you would leave me because it's not fun, right? And what happened instead when we actually started to do these kinds of things was I realized that I was opening up a space for you to talk about the same things that I struggle with. And that's really cool, right? I think that's really cool to have that kind of a space. And you can do that for your audience as well, but it's very hard to do if you're not open about talking about the things that you like, the things that you don't like. Now, it's not all heavy shit. Let's talk about some stuff that I didn't want to post because I was worried that it would alienate you. That is not heavy, right? So I hate culottes. I hate culottes. I think they are ridiculous. I don't like the way they look. I don't think they're fashionable. I just don't like them. Now, I know that there are people out there right now who will watch this or listen to this, and you'll be like, oh my God, I love culottes. I have some in my closet right now. And you feel beautiful. Don't feel judged because I don't like culottes. I don't have to like them, right? So it just means that you're not going to take my advice when it comes to buying culottes. That doesn't mean that I don't know how to teach you how to run a business. It just means I don't like culottes and we disagree on that. If we agree on like 90% of the other things, what does it matter if I don't like culottes? I love reality television, right? I know all about the Kardashians and about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and Orange County. Like I literally read about every single reality show that's on television. I don't watch any of them, but I read about all of them. And I was like, well, will people think that I'm like frivolous or stupid or like that I like junky television or like whatever? And it bothered me, it worried me how your opinion of me mattered. And I didn't want you to like look down. And these are all, by the way, underlying beliefs that I held before that had nothing to do with whether these things are good or bad. These were this was me judging myself and then doing you the disservice of saying that you were going to judge me before I even gave you a chance, right? So I didn't even assume that you were going to like have an open heart or a good part, like I'm coming in with the intention of openness. I was just like, you're going to come in to hate me. And I was just done. You're going to hate me because I was judging myself, right? I hate dates. Dates are disgusting. And I love Dr. Pepper, even though today I have my iced tea because my stomach's been a little bit raw, right? So these are the kinds of things like, and I'd love to hear in the comments, like drop them in the comments. What are some of the things that you're afraid to talk about because you are afraid of what people will think? Maybe you collect dolls, right? And you're like, oh, people will think that's weird. The key here is this: weird is good. Weird is so good. Weird is so good. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about like the two problems that exist. Where did these come from? Okay. The first problem is that we were raised to be likable as women. All right. When I started to think about this particular podcast, the first thing that came to mind for me was a song from our youth. It was, what are little girls made of? What are little girls made of? Sugar and spice and all the things nice. That's what little girls are made of. There it is. What are little boys made of, right? And slugs and snails and puppy dogs' tails, and that's what little boys are made of, right? And the girls are made of sugar and spice and all the things nice. You've got to be nice and likable, and you got to smile, and you got to look a certain way. We were expected to behave a certain way. And I want to take you back to the 50s, right? Because this is where it all started. It didn't start in the 80s, it started in the 50s. Because you were raised by people who were raised in the 50s and 60s. Some of you maybe a little bit before that, but in either case, there was a very specific idea of what women were supposed to do, how they were supposed to show up, how are they supposed to behave. We talked about this in an earlier conversation, earlier podcast. I think it was one of the first ones, so definitely go back and check that out, where we talked about don't tell mom the babysitter's dead, and we talked about working girl and where some of those ideas came from. But we were trying to be likable. And what are some of the things that we were told would make us unlikable, right? You're emotional. Women are too emotional, right? Don't be emotional. Otherwise, people won't take you seriously. And it's not likable and people don't, it's hysterical. Don't do that, right? We have been given the impression that we don't know what we're doing in business and that we are starting at a deficit because we're just built that way. We're women. It is what it is. Oh, well, sucks to be a woman. Those are the things that the kinds of ideas, and every single article that was written back in the day was always written from a position of I am a woman, so I am coming from a deficit, and this is how I am going to prove myself, right? And part of that is being likable. You don't want to be a bitch, right? You don't want people to be like, you're a bitch, right? And so you have to be nice about everything, right? And here's what it shows up as in your day-to-day life. So you're timid, you're shy, you're afraid of making your voice heard, especially in a loud room, a large group of people, especially if there are a lot of men, because you're used to being dismissed. Even when we have something important to say, it manifests because when you were in corporate or when you have worked in places or been in places, you've given your ideas and they'll be poo-pooed all over. And then 2 seconds later, some dude will give the idea over there. And it's like, oh my God, this is brilliant. And this is not a hating men situation. This is really just about understanding that a system has been designed in the world that we are just flowing into, right? And unless we recognize what the system is, we can't change it. And that system is what's holding us back from doing the things we need to do in social media. It's not that there's anything wrong with you. It's that you are operating within a system that you know nothing about because we've never looked at the system this way, right? And that's why I want to shine the light on it so we can start to recognize that some of these underlying beliefs and ideas that we have, they're categorically false, but they were programmed into us, right? It's almost like indoctrination of some kind. If you are put in an environment where someone is consistently telling you that this is true and there is no one out there to contradict you and they show you media where it's true and you're consistently informed that way, then you are going to believe that that is the case and you're going to grow up and perpetuate those behaviors until you look at them and be like, oh, wait a minute, I don't want to do this. And that's really what this is about. It's not about trying to change the things that you like about yourself. This is about changing the things that you don't like, the things that you don't want. Because I'm pretty sure you love your doll collection if you have one. But the thing that you're embarrassed about is what people are going to think of you when you share about it, right? That's what you're afraid of. And the reason why you're afraid is because you've grown up being judged because that's just how it was. And it's even harder if you are a person of color because that just brings in a whole nother layer of rejection and a whole nother layer of systemic issues. So it's really important to recognize that, like, even though we can't, we're all trying to change the system, but the system is a big place. We can change how we show up in the system and really kind of mold our business. That's why we started our own businesses, but we have to break out of that mold first. And the problem with the whole likable thing is that we think that being unlikable is a problem. We think that being unlikable is a bad thing. I got a message from somebody the other day. I used the F word in my emails, and he wrote back and he said, I can't believe how unprofessional you are. And I was just like, by then I was just like totally over the haters, but I saved it. I saved all the screenshots of people telling me how much I suck because those aren't my people, and they're predominantly men, by the way. I have so many messages from men telling me that my blue hair is unprofessional. Nobody's going to take me seriously. No one's going to hire me. I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm a woman, because I have blue hair, because I have tattoos. I literally didn't even get a job once because I had tattoos, right? This is the kind of judgment that we live in. And we think that being unlikable is a problem, but we don't realize is that in order for you to be liked by anyone, you must be disliked by someone. You can't be liked by everyone, right? So you have to be very strategic about your likability. So let me give you an example. Okay, so like a huge extreme example to help you illustrate. So like earlier I said, I'm a huge supporter of LGBTQ rights. It's very, very important to me. So if you're homophobic or transphobic, I don't want you in my group. I don't want you in my community, right? Because that's just the thing. Now, that's my thing, right? It doesn't have to apply to everyone else in the world. That's all them. And if somebody's going to come to my group and say, I am transphobic, but I love you. What am I doing that's making you love me, right? I have to stop doing that thing, right? And because for me, that's something that's important to me in my community is acceptance and no judgment. And, that's very, very important, right? And no hatefulness, right? That's very, very important to me. Equality, representation. So what that means for me in my business, it means I'm going to lose a whole bunch of people, right? Who would have eventually figured this out about me anyway. This is who I am. You're going to figure it out. Like, I can hide it from you if I wanted to, but eventually you're going to figure it out. And when you figure it out, you're going to feel like I lied to you, right? Oh my God, I had no idea, right? So isn't it better for me to say it all up front? Isn't it better for you to say it all up front? and a more real life example for that many of us have been through right now, right? That is, I guess the LGBTQ thing is a real life example for a lot of people. Let me rephrase that. A relatable example for someone who is not in the LGBTQ community, or this is not a relevant aspect for you. I wanted to rephrase, is that when I got married to my husband, right? Something very specific to me. Not this husband, my first husband, Jeff. I didn't want children, but he did, and I lied to myself because I really didn't want to lose him, that I would be able one day to like be like, yeah, I want kids. And I married him. And it became very evident that we should not be together within the first year. Like it was an unhappy marriage. My mom obviously was dying during the time, so that helped exacerbate it, but it just wasn't a happy marriage in general. And we ended up getting divorced within less than a year after we got married. And that came specifically from me recognizing that eventually we are all going to figure out who we really are. He was going to figure out that I didn't want kids. I figured out that I didn't want kids. And I'm like, you want kids, I don't want kids. Like, this is a fundamental disagreement, right? There were a lot of other issues, but that was a big one. So it goes back to my beliefs. I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to be rejected. And so I said the things that I thought I needed to say to myself and to everybody else. I wasn't lying to myself. I wasn't lying to him knowing that I was lying. I was lying to myself too, right? Now, what you're really doing when you're hiding behind this wall that you've created, this persona, is one, you have to keep that persona up, which is very, very hard, very challenging, and it's going to make you hate your business. The second thing that it does is that it makes you feel like you have to lie or convince someone that they need to like you. Think about that. Think about how bad it is for your self-esteem if you feel like you have to beg people to like you or pretend to be someone else, right? And all of that comes from a space of us feeling like being unlikable is a bad thing, and it's absolutely not. Because I want you to think about a person in your community right now, right? Any person in your community that you think is a perfect match for you. Perfect match, right? There's a lot of you are on this live right now. You're in the squad. You are the people who are my perfect match, right? Now, that person is never leaving you, right? She loves you for who you say you are, for the things that you're showing. It doesn't matter. She knows you. She knows you and she's not going anywhere, right? So whatever you say, it's all right. It's okay. It's good, right? You could say, I hate ice cream, and she'll understand. I'll think you're weird, but she'll understand, right? Every post that you write is going to be to that person. Every single post you write is going to be to that person, right? You're not writing to the haters. You're not writing to the trolls. You're not writing to people who don't have your problem. You're not writing to anyone random in the world. You're just writing to that person and other people who look like that person demographically, right? In terms of likes and dislikes, right? Eventually, that one person will become two. Two will become three. So 10, 15, 30, 100, 500, and it just starts to grow. But you have to figure out who that perfect person is, or you can't find more of them. Now, that perfect person you already have. That's your target audience. We talked about it in our last episode about your target audience. But the key lessons that I want you to sort of take out of this are, one, if no one hates you, then no one can love you. It is just the way it is. There's a yin to every yang. And you're trying to cheat the system by trying to be likable to everyone, and you can't. You will fail at it 100% of the time, and you will feel like a failure 100% of the time, and that's why you feel that way. The very thing that you think is keeping you from being successful, right, the very thing that you think is going to make you successful is the thing that is actually hurting you. So stop doing that. Be unlikable. Be likable to the people who are yours. Be unlikable to the people who are not yours. You are talking to the person who will never leave you. So it doesn't matter what you say. If someone leaves you, then they weren't your person, right? That's fine. That's okay. They will find someone else that is the right person for them, all right? So here's what I want you to do for homework, okay? Here's what I want you to do for homework. For homework, I want you to remind yourself, whenever you hear that voice coming of, oh, will they like it, will they not? I want you to remember that you were only talking to that one person, and that one person is not going anywhere. And if you continue to talk to that one person will multiply like triples. They're literally going to just double, triple, quadruple, 100, and then before you know it, you'll be overrun and you'll be like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. But you first have to be okay with who you are. Lean into your weirdness and share those kinds of posts. I have interviewed thousands of business owners over the years, and one of the biggest challenges that most of them face is the fear of being rejected or disliked online. The fact of the matter is that you are going to be rejected and you're going to be disliked online 100% of the time. I can guarantee that that is going to happen at some point. Now, it's not going to happen 100% of the time. I can just guarantee that 100% it will happen. I am rejected all the time. It's often by people I don't even know, and sometimes very, very vocally by people that they want me to know that they don't want to be around me, and that's fine. But we learned today that if no one rejects you, then no one can embrace you either. Now, if you have questions about this or you need additional direction, feel free to message me on the business page at manessa.konecki. In the meantime, keep this in mind. And if you're looking for more support to figure out who those people are who do like you, check out the episode on target audience called Everyone Isn't Your Customer Because Everyone Wears Clothes, where we talk about how to identify your perfect customer. If you want to watch the podcast recording live, join us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern on the Direct to Success business page and join the Q&A after. You can also join the conversation for this episode on the page right now as well, but it is archived. If you like this podcast, please leave us a review and let other business owners know how it helped you. Our mission is to help as many women as we can feel joy and confidence in their business again. And your referrals help us to get the message out. Your friends and colleagues will thank you later, I promise. And cut. Okay, please say all this recorded. All right, let's see what I missed out on. Oh my God, so many comments. Yeah. All right, let's see what happened. Let's see what I missed. Okay. Dee Dee hates reality shows. Dee Dee hates reality shows. Oh my God, that is so funny. That is hysterical. I love that. Let me find them. Okay, there we go. Okay. Dee Dee says, I feel boring. I work at home and I don't get much out lately. You know, I'm actually going to I'm going to do a, Dee Dee, can you send me a quick PM and ask me to do the next stop shooting is you're not boring, you're bored, and I'll help you with that. It might not be the next one, maybe the one after, but that's a really good idea for our topic. I love it. Evelyn, for you too. So I'll do this next week or the week after, but one of the next two will be how to stop feeling like you're boring. Okay, so we'll talk about that because I had a huge epiphany about that a few years ago, completely changed my life. Yep, social media makes me feel like if you aren't dancing or 21, you're boring. Oh my God, dude, I know, right? If you're not, there was like, who was it the other day? I saw this TikTok of like this influence, like she's doing some crazy dance and I'm just like, I did not have, like, I'm sitting here right now, my ankles are hurting, my hips are hurting. I was watching the Golden Girls the other day and they're just talking about the hips hurting and I'm like, I know, dude, I'm with you. I'm so with you. So yeah, absolutely. I understand that. And I think the key here is to like really work, like the things that we'll talk about is really like, yeah, some people do find that interesting, you know, but not everybody does. Like I don't watch dancing videos. There is actually one dancer. Her name is Taylor, that dancer. I recommend looking at her. She does like, you know, like I can't do it obviously, but she does like robotic kind of body, but her control over her body, I've never seen anyone with such amazing body control. Like you watch her and you're just like fixated and captivated by her skill, but not like, you know, I see like the crazy twerking and it's like, oh God, you know, that's great, but that's not for me. Now here's the great thing, right? Dee Dee, you just said that. Evelyn, you just said that. You know, the thing is like, that's why you guys watch me, right? Because I'm not twerking. Like, I think that's why you watch me. I'm not trying to teach you Facebook while I'm twerking. And there are people who will watch you for that same reason, right? Because whatever it is you're doing, you're not twerking. And you're like, thank God, please. I'm tired of seeing people twerk. Also, twerking? I feel like that too, raised in the hood and being judged and considered stuck-up girl because I talked proper and didn't hang out. Yep. It is so, and honestly, Dee Dee, those are the kinds of things that like build in, you know, when you're a kid, you really start to internalize that like as if what you're doing is wrong somehow because your community group isn't doing it. And it doesn't mean that it is, it just means that that's their view of the world. And then the problem I think is as children, we don't necessarily know how to separate that, right? So like I can't separate my friends' opinions from myself because I didn't have a very strong sense of self. And so it influenced me a great deal. And as I kept getting older, I still was looking outwardly for that kind of validation, not realizing that I had reached a point where I had the tools necessary to validate myself. So I think one of the things that as women, especially as we're kind of developing and growing our business, I think one of the things that's important to remember is that you have the strength now and the skills now to be able to look inward and like validate yourself. You don't have to look outside, but we get so programmed into thinking we are a certain way that we don't realize that we've changed. And this is one of the things that we talk about a lot in the squad. For those of you who are not in the squad, we actually went through this really deeply and massaged through some of those things because those are really the things that when you get to the point where you actually need to hit that post button, like that's what holds you back. You have all the tools you need that are necessary, like you know all the things that you need to do in terms of practical speaking, but when you go to actually press that button, it's like there's something physically holding you back, right? And this is where that comes from. Okay. What word was a kid? Oh my God, I don't remember. I don't know what word it was. What was the word? I hate reality shows. Oh my God, dude, I can't watch them. But because oh my God, watching them is just too much drama. But I like reading about them, and I have no idea why. I think it's just mindless stuff that I just like to read through. And it gives me something to talk about. Like, I know some of my friends do watch reality shows. So like Melinda watches Love Island, I think it was called. And so when we were in Anna Maria, I read all about Love Island. But that was like, oh my God, Love Island was way too, oh no, it was something that they do show every single day. But whatever it was, like, it was too much for me. It was like way too much. Crystal says, Alyssa, you're a Pokemon fan? Dude, okay. So, Alyssa, I want to recommend that you talk about Pokemon. Talk about Pokemon. You're going to find your people when you start talking about Pokemon. You're going to find some people who are going to be like, oh my God, you're such a child. That's what I have to say to them. Because honestly, those people don't understand the joy that you get out of it, right? So don't let them suck your joy out. Instead, find more people who take joy in that. So like, I'm not really into Pokemon, but my friend Melinda, obsessed. Oh my God, so obsessed with Pokemon. And one of the live streaming shows that I watch on YouTube, Jan, he's obsessed with Pokemon. I mean, when I say obsessed, I'm like, whoa, is he obsessed? Like, I know so much about Pokemon from just watching him, right? And I'm not even really interested in it because I like him, right? So I don't care that he talks about Pokemon. Sure, talk about Pokemon. I just want to be around him. I like the way he talks. I like the things he talks about. And it makes me feel good to be hanging around my friends, right? So I watch them. Sugar and spice. Yep, all the things. I also feel that way about Crystal likes the trash. Crystal, you and I, we're connected there. You and I we can message about, oh my God, who is it? What was it that something just happened? No, there's nothing recent. The last thing that I watched was, Bachelor in Paradise. Those two people left. I haven't read the article yet, but those two people left. Culottes are like capris, but culottes. Oh, they're talking about the culottes word. Oh my God, culottes, dude, culottes. So men say that about us all of the time. Myth, don't rock the boat even if you're challenging respectfully. Exactly. Women, shut up, sit down, don't be heard, be nice, bring me the tea when I need it. That's your job. And I know that sounds a little dismissive, but that's the message we received as children, because children receive message in absolutes. We don't receive messages in nuanced gray areas as children, right? We receive them in absolutes. And as children, we heard, shut up and sit down. Look nice, be nice, and smile. And that's what we're trying to break, the programming we're trying to break. Because honestly, you're not a bitch for saying what you feel. You're not. And if you are, you're my kind of bitch. That's what I'm just saying, right? And women can be, yes, exactly. Jessica, this is so important. A lot of times when women do it, and this is very, like Alex and I were talking about this the other day, I said women are worse than men. I said women are so much worse. Like, they will eat you alive. They will eat you alive sometimes. Oh my God, it's awful. And it's other women shame you for advocating and speaking up because they are having insecure beliefs. That's so important, Jessica, to recognize, is that a lot of times when people turn you in, or like for whatever compliance related reasons, or they're like, oh, you're doing this wrong, or whatever it is, they feel the need to like judge you or say terrible things. It's about their insecurity. Not about what you're doing, because oftentimes they're envious of how brave you are to be yourself, and they're wishing that they could be brave as well. And when we are jealous or envious, it comes out as ugly things. And unfortunately, the person who bears the brunt of that ugly thing is usually the person who's doing the cool thing, right? And so now they're bringing you down to their level, right? What if instead we help to raise them up? I'm actually doing my first interview about LuLaRoe today. With Roxanne Wilson. And, a couple of people said, I'm so worried about what people are going to say. And I'm like, it's not my job to, let me rephrase that. I'm not going to dive into the dirt with people talking smack. That's not what this is about. I am about looking forward into the future. I am about taking what we've learned and turning it into something beautiful for ourselves, right? I'm about moving forward. I'm not about looking into the back. And a lot of people are really stuck looking backwards, or really stuck. And I'm not talking about LuLaRoe specifically, but in this case, LuLaRoe is a really good example of that, where you can talk about things that are difficult, and people can be upset about it because they feel like it's a rejection of their decisions. And it's not. Sometimes it's just, this is my decision. That has nothing to do with you, right? Evelyn's been through that in the corporate world. Dude, it's everywhere. It is. I actually have a friend who has a PhD. It's happening. She was telling me about how it happened in her PhD as well. It's just, the misogyny is incredible. We are all indoctrinated. Absolutely. Every single person is the craziest thing is we are all programmed one way or another. Every single one of us. The only difference is this. Are you going to program yourself, or are you just going to let people accidentally program you? It's up to you how you want to do it. To program yourself, all it takes is awareness. to let other people program you. It just takes going with the flow, letting people make you feel bad, being a doormat, whatever it is that's just, I'm just going to do what everybody else wants. That's fine. You can do that if that's what you want to do, but there is a consequence and you're going to feel like shit all the time. Alrighty. Okay, so all rules are made up, dude. All rules are made up. Dee Dee says, yep, I worked with men for 20 years and a lot of times I didn't know because I was a woman. I had to make them respect me. They felt women didn't know anything in construction. Absolutely. You know who else probably suffered from this? Sophia, you were in a very male-dominated industry. Do you have to prove yourself as well? Marla says, don't like what I say in an email. Please click the unsubscribe button at the bottom and you don't have to read an email from me again. I know, right? I'm like, just unsubscribe. Like, what I love is when people, like, they stay subscribed and then they just keep sending me emails and I'm like, why are you still subscribed to me then? You just want to just tell me how terrible I am? Like, if that's what you want to do and that's how you're getting off, then by all means, have fun doing it, right? I worry about my boyfriend watching my lives because he thinks I'm talking about us and our relationship. Sometimes I may, but he's very private. Dee Dee, that's a really good point. So Alex is also very private. But it's taken him a while, but he's slowly, I've let him be around. It helped a lot for him to be around for my lives so he could see how I was using these conversations. It's a very big difference, I think, especially for men, between women gossiping and creating learning lessons, right? And I think that, like, if you are approaching it from a perspective of this is a lesson I learned rather than, you know, sometimes, like, you know, your boyfriend does something that annoys you, your husband does something that annoys you. It happens, right? Like, there's one thing when you're doing that and another thing when you're like, okay, we went through this experience. This is what we got out of it. I'm sharing this with you because this is something that I think will help you as well. The impact that I am having has made Alex a lot more comfortable with this. In fact, yesterday he, like, for the first time in a long time, he was just like, yeah, can you not talk about that? And he was talking about the house and he wanted to wait until after we signed the purchase and sales for me to be talking about the house. And I was like, okay, sure, because he's really nervous about it, right? But other than that, he's much more okay with me talking about a lot of things. So I think that's important. And I think having lots of conversations with your boyfriend about what it is that you talk about, the things that you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, will bring him along on the journey and give him the opportunity to give you that insight, like, on his end. Because then what I found with Alex is that us talking about, okay, he'll tell me what he was thinking, I'll tell him what I was thinking, and then we're able to sort of, like, understand where we were coming from, break it up into, like, okay, these are the misunderstandings that we had, this is where it came from, and then create learning lessons out of it. So I would recommend coming at it from that perspective, and that often usually makes a really big difference because now it's not really just about gossiping. Because, I mean, I can gossip sometimes, like, I totally can, right? But I'm not going to do it publicly, right? But he doesn't know that if he doesn't hear me or see me talking. For him, then it's, you know, I'm talking to my friends and giggling about something, and I'm doing that on lives too. And so it's important for him to know that there is a difference between my professional self and the thing I talk to about with my friends on the phone, right? Okay, hurt sometimes does make you, lean into your weirdness, dude. Lean into your weirdness. Dee Dee's absolutely right. We say that we say that we are being ourselves, but at the end of the day, we're really not. And I told Alex yesterday, I said, I feel like the last 2 years, I have just been becoming more and more me. I've been taking more and more steps to who I am because I am caring less and less about what other people think. And I will be 100% honest. My community has helped me with that so much because every time I open up to you, you continue to accept me. And when you continue to accept me, I feel reinforced and more willing to share something else later. So something Dee Dee often says, and many other people in the group say, is they're very, very grateful for the fact that I am 100% honest about everything that I do in my business. They know about my failures, my successes. Like, literally, there is nothing secret in that group about how to run a business because you have to know that if you're going to be successful. What was I going to say? You have to know that to be successful. Oh, for heaven's sakes. I totally forgot. Behind the scenes. I totally lost it. I lost what I was saying. Oh, wait, let me go back to what you're saying. Lean into your weirdness. Something Dee Dee said. Was it, end of the day, we aren't. Oh, yes. So when I started with doing one small thing and you accepted me, it made me more bold to do the next thing and the next thing. And now when you look at me, right, you think that I'm this person who shares all the things. I became that person over the course of the last couple of years. And if those of you who are with me on that journey, you've seen it happen. Those of you who weren't, it looks like I just came out the womb fully formed this way. I really didn't, right? I really didn't. I wanted to add that even though we don't have the same views, your content is still really valuable. I can set that aside and still learn from you. Everyone is free to think what they want. That doesn't mean you can't help. Absolutely, absolutely. So a really great thing about that, like, is religion. So I want to use religion as an example. We have people of many different faiths in the squad. We have people who are very spiritual, people who are very Catholic, people who are very Protestant, people who are very Muslim, very, very, a lot of different belief systems. the fundamental core in the squad is acceptance and love, right? That's the fundamental core in there. And as long as everybody leaves everything at the door, right? The fundamental thing is love and acceptance. We figure everything else out, right? We'll figure it out. We will have conversations. We will have the difficult conversations. We'll talk. We will work our way through those things because we believe that growth is more important than being right. And so a lot of us will be willing to have those conversations. And I have grown as a person, and I know a lot of you have grown as a person from the conversations that we've had. And I don't think we would be there without those conversations. And I think that's really the important part. If you have someone in your group who is closed-minded, who has a wall in front of them, who's just like, this is just how it is and I'm not changing, that's sort of what I meant earlier when I said everybody needs to leave if they're not my people. Why? Because if you are not willing to open up your mind or your heart, right, in any way, then you've got closed mind and closed heart, which means you can't really learn anyway. So the goal is to really have open minds, open hearts, but you have to create that environment by being open-minded and open-hearted in your group first, because it's not your group's responsibility or your business's, your customer's responsibility to do that. So in your effort to be likable, you're not being vulnerable, you're not being open, and you're not attracting your people. And so everybody thinks you're faking it or you're lying or there's something off about you, but they don't know what it is. And it's because you are hiding yourself behind this wall. I have someone that cursed a lot as she knew I didn't do it a lot. She was an atheist and I believe in God and we get along fine. The one thing I try not to say a lot is, there's a couple things that I try not to say because I don't know if they're offensive to somebody, which I may say in my day-to-day vernacular, right? And I do that because it's like, why? I don't have to say it. And it's language that may be offensive to some people. And so it's like, it's fine, right? I don't need to say it. But sometimes, like I do say, like I say shit all the time. I say those, that's fine. But there's some things that I'm just like, you know what? I try not to do a couple things because I'm like, you know what? I don't have to say it. And it's not something that is a part of my fundamental personality. It's fine, right? Not a big deal. So not everything has to be a hill to die on. Love that you said that. Love that. Okay. Alrighty. It's not going to be live. I'm doing it right after this. In about 10 minutes, I'm going to meet with Roxanne. We're going to record it. Then she's going to edit it. And then we're going to post it. Because, so yeah, because it's, I mean, I've never talked about it before with anybody ever publicly. So actually, I've never talked about it with anybody. So it should be very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Okay, so Jessica says, it's me trying to advocate for my kid in the school system for his special needs. I made out to be emotional and, yep. An educational advocate actually told me I'd have a better chance if I got my husband. Oh my God. She did not say that. Oh, you know, I had somebody say to me, do you have to ask your husband's permission? And I'm like, I don't have to ask my husband's permission. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? This is the 21st century. Oh my God, I love, see, those are the things. Talk about those things, Dee Dee. DIY shows, cooking shows, mindset videos. Talk about those things. Do those things, right? Have fun with those things. Yep, you were always having to prove yourself, Sophia. I figured you did. Because you're in a very male-dominated industry. And it's a lesson. Exactly. It's not gossip. Oh my God. All right. I feel that because you're so transparent, I respect you and you resonate with me on so many levels. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And that's the thing. You'll do that with your audience because if you are transparent, your audience will respect you for that same reason. But you don't have to go out balls to the wall, like, you know, with just telling them all the things. Start with something small, right? And just sort of push your way out the way I did. I started by saying the word anxiety a little bit and just saw what would happen. Then I started talking a little bit about my feeling in my chest and see what would happen. And what happened was everybody started messaging me and saying, is that what anxiety is? And I can't tell you how many people in the squad or in my community have gone into therapy because of the things that I've said that has then changed their life. You can have that same impact on other people just by opening up, right? That's it. Like if you're in therapy, talk about it, dude. Make it normal for people to be in therapy, right? And then other people will go into therapy too, and they'll get the help they need, and then they can live joyous lives. And so we are then paying joy forward everywhere, right? And that's the goal, is to pay the joy forward. Yeah. When it's recorded, it's going to be a podcast. All y'all will see it. Yep, absolutely. So when Roxanne is going to actually publish it, I think next week. I don't know. She's trying to get it out soon. So it's going to be out in the next week or so. Yep. Close. Hold on. She said it with love because the school would take me more seriously. You know what, though? That's so interesting because it really says us a lot about her, right? She feels like she's figured out how to live in a man's world. And I think we should try to change it to be everyone's world, right? Man, woman, gay, straight, cis, black, white, Pakistani, it doesn't matter. Let's change it to be everybody's world. But the only way to do that is for each of us to do it individually in our own spaces, in our own little worlds. And then we do these in our own little spaces, in our own little worlds, and then we impact that area. And the more of us that are impacting these little spaces, the more we can more ground we can cover. Before you know it, we're covering the world, right? And that's what I'm trying to, I realize that's what I'm trying to do, dude. She's put me in all of them. Like, I'm on Apple, I'm on Android, I'm on Podchaser, I'm on like a lot. I don't know. So you know what? Let me ask you. That's not a very good answer for you, Jessica. So let me ask Lara to share that, and as soon as it's up, we'll start posting it, and you can have it. It's like we're just getting it ready right now, but the last few episodes will be up soon. Okay. All right. Oh my God, dude, I love it. I'm so, now that I'm not creating content constantly, I really do feel like I have a lot of opportunity to like do a lot more creative stuff. I'm way more excited about doing Clubhouse now. I'm way more excited about TikTok. The house has just overwhelmed everything. So I was just like, you know what? I have to give myself a break. I can't do all the things, and some stuff's gonna have to give. Alrighty. So guys, honestly, you guys are amazing. Today's conversation was like so good. I loved your vulnerability. I appreciate so much, because this is a public video, and I wanted this conversation to be public, and obviously it's going to be in a podcast, because these are the things that we don't talk about. Nobody talks about this stuff in business, because we all think it's about spreadsheets and Facebook and, and yeah, there is a space for all of that. But I'll be really honest. I've worked with thousands of business owners at this point. And honestly, most of you know what you need to know in terms of like the things that you need to do. You know about Facebook, you know about Instagram, you know about your email, you know about the things that you need to do at this point. You don't need to learn anything more about what it is. But you keep doing it because that's what we're habituated to do. You're now at a point where if you change your approach and your mindset, all the things that you've already learned are going to click into place. Now imagine this, right? Imagine if you just opened a door and everything that you wanted was there. You understood where everything went. You understood the social media. You understood how to do your emails. You understood what to say. You knew your target market. You know how to get people. You're hanging out. You have free time. Like, imagine all of that was there. You can get all of that because you actually already have those tools. The more people that I work with, the more I realize you guys have the tools. All you're missing is the approach. How do you think like a business owner? What are those skill sets? Many people think they're going to get that skill set from a business school. You won't. You can't. I've been in business school. I'll tell you, they're fine. It's fine. You can do it for fun if you like to enjoy your life. If you're younger and you just want to like doing school, definitely go for it. But honestly, it's not necessary, because the things that you're really going to learn for your business are going to be experiential, right? And that's the key. Listening to these kinds of things to change the way you're thinking about business, so you know how to approach your business, so that now you can actually just unlock all of the stuff that you've been like, why doesn't this make sense to me? You'll just unlock that and suddenly be like, oh, it makes total sense, right? That's the key, right? So it's totally, dude, Dee, this is it. This is the path to get there. Alrighty, guys, you're amazing. I'm leaving for Texas tomorrow. Laura's going to get this podcast up. We will keep you updated on the podcast. We're still putting it together. So the recordings are here, but we're still putting it together. That's why I wanted you to see this. It's slow. When did I start doing the first podcast? About a month and a half ago in August, right? So I did about a month ago in August, and we're only just now getting it up. That's fine, because I have all this content. Stuff is happening. I'm still growing. It's all good. Small steps and actions are always going to be better than taking big steps and actions, right? Dude, LaFern, I don't know what the fuck my business degree, man. I just started, I was like, what am I even doing? And it's good. It's just academic information. It's not practical information. I'm leaving for Texas. Yeah, I mean, I'll be back. I'm just going till Monday. All right, I got to go now. I have to get on the podcast with Roxanne. And then I will see all of you who are in the squad on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern for Intent, where we'll have another conversation kind of like this one. Otherwise, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, you guys. Thank you for joining me for your awesome questions. Take care. Bye-bye. Where's my end button? Ooh, I'm going to check. I'm going to check to see if I can record at the same time. I can record and stream at the same time. Anne, are you here? If you just hit record while you're streaming, you can record the video as well. So why don't you do that instead? Because that's what you can use for the snippets. Wow, I'm so excited.